Hello, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Crystal.
And I'm Rob. We're happy here to share some experiences with you that we've had over the last 3 years that we've been here in Portugal. So our checklist included things like we like warm climates, we like beautiful landscapes, we like living on the ocean, we like living in places with old world charm and interest, we like being in places that are healthy, good food, and so those are a few of the things that we were looking for in a place to live.
We had visited Portugal in September and then moved in January because we fell in love with it when we actually were here. I had my mind set on Australia because I had been there several times and my health seemed to be better. I didn't really know why, but I was still working and Rob had just retired. So there was a question in my mind also about work and how's the Wi-Fi going to be and those sort of things. I would say that's one of the most pleasant things I learned when I got here. Portugal was amongst the last in Europe to get fiber, so they got the best fiber. So our Wi-Fi is absolutely great here, and I had absolutely no problems working at all.
Perfect for remote work.
Yeah, absolutely. We have lived in 3 places. Those of you who have watched the channel before know this. But we spent 2 years in the Algarve in Lagos, which we really loved. We probably wouldn't have left there, but I have a lot of health challenges. And they have a private hospital. They used to have a public hospital in Lagos. Use the private system. We really feel that we should always leave the public system to the people that need it. And so when private hospital closed in Lagos, we had to make a tough decision because they turned it into a clinic, but I have some conditions that can really go wrong any hour of the day. So we decided to move to Cascais, which was our second location.
Which is right near really excellent hospitals in Lisbon. I think that generally speaking, there's good health care in throughout Portugal, but near Lisbon, near Porto, some of the bigger cities are where some of the very best hospitals and healthcare exist, and it was a comfort to be close to that in case we needed to be close to a hospital for any emergency reason.
I will say it's kind of funny. We have a couple of doctors in Lagos who we actually still go back from time to time to see because they were absolutely fantastic. It was just about the hospital for us. So then we went to Cascais and it was absolutely gorgeous. We lived in Costa de Guia, which is outside of Cascais, a small distance. It was beautiful. We had a little fairy tale walk in the woods to go to the restaurants in Costa de Guia on the bluff. But I developed serious asthma. I had asthma when I was younger, and there's a lot of pollen in that zone. So from the north of Lisbon to about Sintra and beyond, there's an area that has just a lot of allergies, which we didn't know about. So my doctor said, you need to move again, which we went, oh no, because we loved it there as well. But now we're in Sintra, Portugal, and we are close to healthcare, and it struck a lot of our checklist items.
Yeah, I'll say that the Cascais area and Sintra, the whole area around Lisbon, is just a beautiful place. There's a lot of landscaping. It's very lush, and some of the things that attracted us there, natural beauty to begin with, were some of the things that ended up causing allergies, which caused us to want to leave later on. But we have nothing negative to say about Cascais or Lisbon or that whole area. It's just a beautiful place, and it has a lot to offer.
And I would like to say, too, that we ended up renting in Lagos. We actually were buying an apartment. It took a while, so we worked with a wonderful realtor and sold that apartment, our interest in it. And then went to Cascais. Our landlords, both in Lagos and Cascais, were just amazing. Our first landlords were not Portuguese, but our second ones were. And we have not met a Portuguese person who wasn't so welcoming, tried to help us in any way they possibly could. And when they found out that I had some severe asthma, They helped us with our lease, getting it terminated, and they were just fantastic.
There was a lot of flexibility there. And also in Lagos, like you said, the people that we had as landlords there were considerate, they were kind, they were very responsive. Anything we needed, we had, and I'm sure that they're not all that way, but we certainly have had very good fortune that way. And so I think that that's a big picture thing about Portugal that we've found that we like in general is that people are so welcoming, so friendly, non-judgmental. There's a real, live, let live kind of approach that people have. And they also make you feel welcome from restaurants to people you meet anywhere. They generally are very open and they smile and they're welcoming to you and genuinely make you feel as though they're happy you're there.
And we don't want to paint this as a total rosy picture. We want to actually tell you some of the things that we have overcame. And we've come to understand the Portuguese people much better than we ever did, certainly before living here. And the Portuguese people don't get paid very much. And the housing situation here, the costs have gone up a lot. So in the places in the center of cities and towns where they need to live and work, there is a deficit of places to live. So we have really tried to live outside of those zones, leave the housing to the people who really need it in those areas. So that's just something to be cognizant of. And of all the people that we've met personally, they don't feel threatened by us, but it certainly is something that they're facing. So that's something to be aware of.
It is true that as people come into Portugal from other countries, they can drive the cost of housing up if they're willing to pay more for a place. But it's also true that we bring in revenue and income and we pay taxes here too. And so hopefully there's a balancing out that happens. Hopefully it's a net positive. The people that we know here that are Portuguese definitely make it feel as though they're happy that we're here, which is appreciated.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing anytime you go to a different country. I think that Americans maybe sometimes take a bad rap. Maybe it's a bad rap and maybe sometimes it's not. Europeans in general, I think, have a preconceived notion about America, about where we came from. We as Americans do have a lot of waste. So we tried to separate our trash, but not like they do here. They
very sustainably conscious.
Yeah. And sometimes we see American tourists come here, and occasionally we'll see someone who just thinks they own it all or want it all and aren't very nice to the Portuguese people. That is by far not the majority. But it's important to know that coming here with the right mindset can just make a huge difference.
I'd like to talk a little bit, too, about some of the other things that we found that we really appreciated about this place. The food and the wine are just out of this world. We love the fish, various pastries, the many kinds of dishes that are local to Portugal. Also, if you live in some place where there's any tourism at all, there's a lot of different kinds of foods from around the world that you can find. And the food is just excellent. And the wine is among the best in the world. I don't know if you've ever found a wine that we really didn't like. And it's very inexpensive. Our house wine, as we call it, is something like €4 a bottle, and it's just really, really good. There's a lot of wine grown in Portugal. That's one of their bigger crops. And there's different wines that are grown in different segments or areas of the country. From north to south, there's many different regions. If you like wine, you're going to like it here in Portugal.
Speaking of wine, something that we learned about that I am so embarrassed to say we didn't really know a lot about are they use a lot of cork here. And so cork is one of the number one production of the Portugal. So they actually take the bark from the trees. They're marked, and they're only allowed to take that bark. I believe it's like 7 years or so. So don't get angry with us if we're not exact on that. But we have come to learn to appreciate how well they take care of those trees, how much they really care about the environment. And there are many cork products here that are phenomenal. And one thing I wanted to say, because we have some Portugal people who watch this channel. It didn't used to be the case, but as the channel grew, our intentions are to help the Portuguese people as much as we can. We absolutely love Portugal. We do everything in our power to make it as easy for the Portuguese people that we know or don't know. And we feel that that's our responsibility as immigrants to this country.
We're learning the language. We think
Yep.
it's important if we're going to live here that we learn how to speak Portuguese and learn how to fit into the culture as much as possible.
And I would also say about that is, we first moved to the Algarve, which is southern Portugal. And as we said, in the Algarve, there are many tourists, especially in the summer. There are a lot of people from England. There are a lot of people from all over Europe. And we even saw some from the USA.
And from Canada.
And Brazil, a lot of different tourists. So the first 2 years were pretty easy on us because everyone in Lagos practically spoke English to us, even though we were trying to learn Portuguese. And that makes it a little bit tougher to learn Portuguese, although we kept trying.
When you don't have opportunities to practice.
That's right. And then when we moved to Costa de Guia outside of Cascais, we actually made some friends on our street, and they had a restaurant. They're dear friends of ours. They speak almost no English. They're learning now, I think, because we wanted to communicate. They've actually come and stayed at our house, and that was fun using our apps to translate back and forth. But in Sisema, this is the least English-speaking place we've ever lived. There are people, especially in the restaurants, who'll have at least one or two. The hotels definitely speak English. But the people in general speak Portuguese, and there are families who have been here their whole entire lives. So we just feel it's our responsibility. It just changes your whole entire attitude.
Yeah, I don't know. There's nothing for me like walking down cobblestone streets and stopping at a sidewalk cafe and having a cappuccino and watching the world go by, and then going to an open air market and bringing home vegetables and food for that day's dinner. And it's just everywhere that we walk to, it's a pleasant walk, and it's just daily life is done on foot, not in cars so much. We go to cafes and just enjoy the walk to get where we're going. And it is healthier. I walk a lot more than I used to, and I think that's probably a good thing for my health as well.
Yeah. And so one of our challenges that we have actually nicknamed after a while of dealing with it is the bureaucracy of paperwork in Portugal. It is slower than the US, where we came from. And at first, we were very nervous when we were applying for our temporary residence. And it took a while. We got ours actually quicker than a lot of our friends, but we call it Portuguese patience. And you learn to be patient here. And I think that ultimately is a very good thing.
Yeah, things again move more slowly. And in the bureaucratic governmental sense, that's definitely the case. And sometimes you'll wonder, have they forgotten me? Or am I ever going to get that item I'm expecting in the mail? Or when am I going to get my appointment set up? Or, there are a lot of things that you need to do in order to stay here for any period of time that take time. And so we've found that it's absolutely smart to bring on board a local attorney to help you with the immigration elements, to get a local tax accountant that can help you with any issues that might come up regarding taxation, to work with local people that just know the language, know the processes, and know how to keep things moving as quickly as they can go. And that also gives you peace of mind, not being afraid that you've forgotten something and that something has somehow gone off the rails when you didn't know it.
Yeah, for sure. And, one thing in America, a lot of people think they need to own a house. And here things work a little differently. Of course, there are homes everywhere, right? That are single family homes. But also, there are many apartments that are built on top of commercial areas. My husband is an architect, so he can tell you a little bit more about that. But the fact that I want to talk about is that for us, we rented first, which was a really good option for us. That we spent 2 months driving around Portugal, making sure it's the places that we wanted to live. And sure enough, Lagos was it for us in the beginning, and we thought we'd be there forever. But nothing is really forever. And we had bought, like I said, an apartment that was being built there and realized that we needed to move. And so for us, at our age, we decided that because it's so easy to travel here, if you live in Europe and you're in the Schengen zone, which I'll let Bob tell you what that is, it is absolutely a breeze to jump on a plane very inexpensively and travel. And so we do a lot of that, and that really works for us.
Well, the Schengen zone is just basically a collection of countries. Most all European Union countries are in it, not all, but most. And so if you want to travel almost anywhere in Europe, it's almost like going from state to state in the U.S. It's very easy to do. There's not much in the way of customs or challenges to go from country to country if you're already living in the European Union. One thing I mentioned about about walking and about the layout of our communities here, something which I really like about European communities in general, and definitely here in Portugal, is that there's a planning approach that evolved over hundreds of years where you have shops and restaurants on the ground level of all of these different neighborhoods, and then you have residences above them. And what that does is that allows people to live where they work or nearby where they work. That allows people to come downstairs from where they live and walk to the market, walk to a cafe, or walk to someplace. And that's something that really is different than the planning concepts around most of the U.S. is that the living and the shops and the cafes are all integrated together in the communities themselves. And so there's just a different sense of community that happens to appeal to me.
Yeah, it's been totally fantastic. A lot of people ask us about, again, real estate. I just wanted to remind all of you that on February 15th, we are doing a live webinar with our amazing realtor. When I mean amazing, I mean amazing.
Seems really good.
Denise Cruz from Villa Keys Real Estate, and also an expert mortgage person. Mortgages do not work the same in Portugal as they do in the US, and that will all be explained. So I'm going to put the link in the comments below, and please sign up. Spots are going fast, but that's something that will be a very good resource for you. Well, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate you. And to, again, the Portuguese people, much love to you. Thank you for your welcomeness. And we appreciate you teaching us about your land and everything you do for us.
And thanks for spending time with us today.
Até já, and see you soon.